No one ever sets out to sabotage their own life. Yet, time and again, we watch it happen not through grand, reckless choices, but through subtle, nearly invisible moments. Like a river carving stone, the damage creeps in quietly, almost tenderly. That's how it begins. There is a hard, unspoken truth about married women that escapes the eye of most men. A truth not rooted in weakness nor in lack of virtue, but in the raw design of human nature. We are all susceptible to temptation, not suddenly, not loudly, but in whispers. No woman wakes up one morning thinking, "Today I'll betray the life I've built." That's not how this works. It starts with a glance that lingers, a conversation that runs a little deeper, a heartbeat that quickens from a message not sent by her husband. These are the seeds of erosion, psychological moments that feel so small, so harmless, they're dismissed before they're ever acknowledged. Psychologists have studied this descent for decades. They call it the slow erosion of boundaries, one thought, one feeling, one step at a time, and before long, she looks in the mirror and no longer sees the woman she swore she'd be. So why is it that some married women become the easiest to reach, the easiest to lure away from the vows they once made sacred? And more importantly, how do they explain it to themselves? That's what we're about to uncover. 1. The breaking point. The chains of habit are too weak to be felt, until they are too strong to be broken. Samuel Johnson. Every story of betrayal has a moment, a precise second, when the game stops being a game. The flirting no longer feels harmless. The message isn't just a message. The glance lasts just a heartbeat too long, and she doesn't look away. This is the threshold. And the most haunting truth? Most women don't realize they've crossed it until it's far behind them. In psychology, it's called threshold theory, the idea that we don't fall all at once. We fall one step at a time, and the most difficult step is the first. The first text she knows she shouldn't send. The first friendly meet-up. The first touch that lingers just long enough to mean something, and she doesn't pull away. After that, the second time is easier. The third time feels natural. What once felt unthinkable now feels familiar. As Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. And once something becomes a habit, a routine, it becomes a part of who she is. Here lies the great lie. I can stop whenever I want. But she can't, not really. Neuroscience shows that emotional and romantic entanglement activates the same neural pathways as drug addiction. The rush of dopamine, the thrill of being wanted, the euphoria of connection. It's a high, and the craving becomes stronger than reason. At first, lying feels unnatural. The first hidden message. The first excuse to cover a meeting. The first time she stares at her husband across the table and thinks he has no idea. Guilt used to sting. Now it fades, and in its place comes strategy. She becomes efficient at hiding the truth. She compartmentalizes the affair so thoroughly she forgets it's not real life. It becomes her sanctuary, her escape, her secret. And in time she no longer feels shame, only control. But here's the spiral. The longer the secret lives, the harder it is to kill. She keeps telling herself, I'll end it next week, next month, soon. But soon never comes. Because by now, the lie has roots. It has habits. It has emotion. And eventually the final shift occurs, the most devastating one. She no longer sees her husband as her primary relationship. He becomes the other man. The intimacy, the longing, the emotional loyalty, it all belongs to someone else now. And when that happens, the affair doesn't need to be physical. The betrayal is already complete, because her heart no longer lives at home. There are only two ways this story ends. She gets caught, or she walks away, unable to carry the weight of a double life any longer. So why are some married women the easiest prey? Not because they set out to cheat, not because they're broken or cold, but because they're chasing a feeling they lost, a piece of themselves that went missing in the monotony of routine. And once they believe they've found it again, walking away feels like letting go of the last real part of them left. 2. The unspoken void. A great marriage is a partnership, Helen Mirren once said, but the truth is, not every partnership remains great. At its best, marriage is a shelter, a bond meant to endure time, trials, and temptations. But bonds wear, and when they do, many women, even the loyal, the devoted, begin to feel a quiet hunger, one they rarely name. It's not always for escape. Often, it's for something far more subtle. To feel visible again. People mistakenly believe that when a married woman begins to drift, it's about physical temptation, a craving for novelty or passion. But more often, it's psychological. It's a search for a part of herself that feels like it's gone missing. Human beings are wired for connection. For women especially, that connection thrives on emotional intimacy, not just physical proximity. In the beginning, marriage offers that in abundance. Long conversations, deep into the night, stolen glances, the intoxicating sense of being fully seen. But over time, life intervenes. The spontaneous becomes scheduled. Conversations turn into logistical briefings about groceries and chores. Passion fades into responsibility, and slowly, quietly, a woman begins to feel like she's fading too. She doesn't scream it, she doesn't even say it, but she feels it, the slow death of being unnoticed. Dr. John Gottman, a renowned relationship psychologist, once said that the silent killer of relationships isn't conflict, it's indifference. When a woman feels like her husband has stopped seeing her, stopped choosing her, something inside her begins to retreat, and into that quiet void, attention can slip in, not as a threat, but as oxygen, a kind word from a stranger, a man who listens without judgment, a moment where she feels interesting again. These aren't grand betrayals. They're moments that feel like rescue after years of emotional suffocation. Marriage brings stability, but the shadow side of stability is predictability, and predictability dulls the spark. In psychology, this is called the Coolidge effect, the tendency for desire to be triggered by novelty. Men and women alike are vulnerable to it. The unknown excites, the unfamiliar seduces, and for a woman who has lived years in the comfort of repetition, even the smallest flicker of something new can feel electric, not because she doesn't love her husband, not because she's immoral, but because she misses the sensation of being wanted. F. Scott Fitzgerald once wrote, "We are most alive when we are in love. But love isn't just about staying together. It's about being chosen again and again." When a woman feels that someone desires her, pursues her, sees her, it awakens a version of herself she thought was long gone, a version that felt confident, radiant, effortlessly captivating. She doesn't plan to cross the line, but she starts drifting closer. Not for betrayal, but for a heartbeat of aliveness. There's another reason, quieter but no less powerful, that makes her vulnerable: identity loss. After marriage, many women stop being individuals and start becoming roles: wife, mother, caretaker, scheduler, problem solver. These are noble, beautiful responsibilities, but if not carefully balanced, they can begin to erase the self beneath. Before marriage, she was her own person, a mystery, a woman with dreams, quirks, flaws. After marriage, she becomes someone's wife, someone's mum, someone who holds it all together. And sometimes the only way she remembers who she is through the attention of someone who sees her not as a role, but as a woman. And that's where the danger begins, not in betrayal, but in rediscovery. 3. The Justification Game. No one wakes up thinking, "Today I'll betray my marriage." That's not how it happens. It doesn't begin with the affair, it begins in the shadows, in thoughts that feel harmless, in moments that feel innocent. Before a woman ever crosses a line, she makes peace with the idea that there is no line. The mind is a master negotiator, especially when the heart has already made its decision. The dissent is quiet. It's just attention. What's the harm? I'm only talking. Nothing's happening. I'm just enjoying the moment. I deserve to feel good. This is how it starts. The mind whispers logic where once there was principle. It's not deceit, not yet. It's relief, a moment of warmth in an emotional winter. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, the internal conflict between what we believe and what we do. And the longer that dissonance lingers, the more urgently the mind works to close the gap. But it doesn't close it by correcting the behavior. It does it by rewriting the story. She tells herself, it's just harmless flirting. She shifts blame. If my husband paid attention to me, I wouldn't need this. She compartmentalizes. This has nothing to do with my marriage. It's separate. This is for me. The Stoics warn that the most dangerous lies are the ones we tell ourselves. And here, the lie is subtle but lethal. I'm still loyal. I just want to feel alive. But here's the truth. The first betrayal is rarely physical. It's emotional. And that makes it more dangerous because the boundaries aren't as clear. There's no bright red line in a conversation that goes too deep. There's no alarm bell when she shares things with another man she no longer tells her husband. But the heart knows. The soul knows. Emotional intimacy is powerful and in many ways more intimate than the physical. When she begins to trust someone else with her thoughts, her worries, her spirit, she has already begun to detach from her marriage. There's a moment, often quiet and private, when the secrecy begins. The phone is turned over, the texts are deleted. The heart races when her husband asks, "Who are you talking to?" And she lies, not because she's cruel, not because she's broken, but because, by now, she's convinced herself this isn't betrayal, it's survival. The final shift is the most dangerous one. It's not a conversation, it's not a touch, it's a thought. I deserve this. That phrase, I deserve this, is the turning point. The moment when guilt is no longer welcome, when every sacrifice she made, every effort gone unnoticed, every year of feeling unseen, builds into a quiet justification. I've given everything to this marriage, and for what? I stopped caring, so why should I? I've been faithful for years and it got me nowhere. At this stage, the affair, emotional or physical, doesn't feel wrong anymore. It feels earned, not betrayal. And when someone truly believes what they're doing is justified, nothing can stop them. So why, then, are some married women the easiest prey? It's not because they're immoral, not because they plan to be unfaithful, but because they are human, vulnerable to what all humans crave, to feel seen, chosen, and alive. Most aren't searching for betrayal. They're searching for something they once had and lost along the way, and once they believe they've found it, they'll do almost anything to hold on to it. That's the danger, because the moment she convinces herself that this feeling, this spark, this connection can't be found at home anymore, everything changes. The home becomes a cage, the marriage becomes a role she plays, and the man waiting for her every evening becomes a stranger she no longer reports to. This is how it happens, not in one leap, but in 1,000 silent steps, each one rationalized, each one forgiven by herself. But here's the Stoic truth. To see clearly is to have power, power over illusion, power over self-deception, power to read the signs that others miss, not to judge, but to understand. If you understand this truth, you are no longer blind. You see the early cracks. You hear the silent signals. You recognize the path before the final step is taken, and that awareness, uncomfortable as it may be, is your armor. This is Stoic Guide. Until next time, take care and never stop seeing the truth between the lines.